Hey everybody, what's up? How are you guys doing? I hope everyone is great. So, on this video, I would like to talk to you about why you should read the Bible. So, as always, I'm gonna talk about something based in my personal experience. I don't even know where to start. So let me start by telling you about my experience reading the Bible. I have always been a Christian. I was raised attending a Baptist church with my parents, and we have been to several Baptist churches across Brazil. So, yeah, everywhere we've been to. So, as someone who was always at church on Sundays, I grew up reading all the Bible stories, when I was a little kid, it always fascinated me, like the most of the stories in the Bible, they were really like exciting. And as a kid, I loved it. I loved it, most of them, like Moses opening the Red Sea, and like the miracles that Jesus did. And I always found it very extraordinary. I loved to watch Christian cartoons on TV and also some animated movies, like the one that tells the story about Joseph in Egypt, and also the Prince of Egypt that tells the story about Moses. Both of these animated movies are by DreamWorks. So as a kid, I loved watching these cartoons. It was really fun, and I can say that I never doubted the stories in the Bible. I never doubted them. Probably there might be someone uh, who's watching me that eventually, as they got older, they started to question the stories in the Bible. So they they started to think about it, like, okay, this sounds a little crazy. I mean, is this realistic? Could this be possible? Could that be accomplished? I think that there might be a lot of people who question those things. And I have a personal motto myself, to question everything, especially, for example, when you are at school, when you are at a university, and you have a stupid teacher, a stupid socialist teacher trying to put some bullshit in your head. So you have to question them. You have to, don't take everything for the truth. Go to the source, go search for more information to gather knowledge. Do it yourself, go search about it. So yeah, I think that's normal, that's part of the process. As human beings, we, at least I have this feeling, I am a very curious person, and as a curious person, I always want to understand the core of that information, the core of a story, the core of an event. I try to gather all the information available on that topic in order to get the bigger picture. So yeah, you should do that. uh, I can say that I never did it myself. I never questioned the Bible. I never questioned. I never doubted the stories in the Bible. I always had a lot of faith. I have always been a Christian, not a good example of a Christian, but I think that's gonna be a topic for a separate video. But I always believed in all those stories and all those events that are told in the Bible, and I always loved reading them. But I confess that I didn't have the habit of reading the Bible every day. Actually, I didn't know, like, where to go. For example, I have the Bible here with me, and I wouldn't know, like, okay, what should I read? I mostly read the Gospels, of course, Matthew, Luke, John, Mark. I was always reading the stories about Jesus, the miracles that he did, all the extraordinary things that he did, all the healing, and all the wisdom that he had to give. And it was great. It was great. I also read the Psalms, Proverbs, and but I never did what I did for the first time this year, 2024. I started reading the Bible this year, So I started in Matthew and all the way to the end of the New Testament. So I had never done that before. I had never read all the books in the New Testament, but I did start many years ago to read from the beginning, in the Old Testament. So Genesis, Exodus, and I guess I stopped at Second Kings. And even then, at that time, when I was a very immature teenager, I found it really fascinating. If you're a fan of Game of Thrones, for example, then you can read the Bible as as a fiction book, although that's not the right approach. That's not the correct approach to do it. If you are, for example, an atheist, you don't believe in God, you don't believe at all, but you're just reading the Bible as any other book. So okay, if you're a huge fan of Game of Thrones, then you're gonna find the Bible really interesting. So back then I was reading it and I was like, oh my gosh, these stories are so cool, they're so nice, uh, really incredible. It was amazing. But then I stopped at Second Kings, I guess, and didn't finish the Old Testament. But now I started again since the beginning from Genesis, and now I am in. Right now, I am in the book of Judges. So yeah, I've read all these books in actually in less than a month. Yeah, I'm doing really good at reading the Bible again. But yeah, anyway, if you are not a Christian, you don't have to be a Christian to read the Bible. You just gotta be a curious person, someone interested in history, in religion. I don't know, like I said before, I am a very curious person, and I love reading about all the various topics. So yeah, I find it really amazing and interesting. You should read the Bible even if you're not a Christian, because there is a lot of history, there is a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, many things that you can really like meditate on it. You can think about some topics, you can take some instructions for life. There is a lot of good things, and a lot of people might say that okay, the Bible is a like a fiction book. All those stories are just legends, made up by people. uh, but the funny thing is that there is a lot of history. There is a lot of people, researchers, archaeologists, all these people from different fields of studying. They can confirm a lot of the things that are in the Bible. Also, think about this. It took about 2,000 years for all the books in the Bible to be written, and most of these authors, they were living in like huge separate periods of time in history. They were not in touch with each other, and again, it's a very old book. There was no technology at all. So uh, these people, they were not in contact with each other. It's still, the Bible doesn't contradict itself. Actually, it's totally the opposite. You can, for example, take um, many verses in the New Testament to verify, to confirm something in the Old Testament. It's all connected. You can take verses and connect one to the other, and they all make sense. Me as a logical and rational person, I will always analyze things this way, and that's what I do with the Bible. And the Bible has a lot of history, a lot of history. So uh, it should be taken as a historical book. For example, Genesis is to understand how we were made, why we were made, like why do we exist, why are we here on earth, like what is the purpose, what is our mission. And a lot of people, they question these things and they feel lost in life. And I'm not saying that religion is gonna save you. It's not about religion. The Bible is not about like religion. The Bible is a historical book. It is the source of knowledge. It is the source to understanding ourselves. To understanding our lives better. And it's also a a guide of instructions. Okay, so God, He created us, and we, as His creations, we should uh, like read the manual to understand, like, okay, what am I supposed to do with my life? And it is fascinating. It is just like a life changing experience to analyze the Bible with this perspective, with this whole new historical and logical and rational perspective. So I started to read the Bible again after a long period of time without like not even touching it. And also I wasn't going to church. I was just sick of that. I was you know like I said before, I never doubted the Bible. I always had a lot of faith, faith in God, faith in Jesus. I always prayed, I talked to God, but I don't know, man, I just didn't enjoy going to church. And it, it just something didn't add up, and I was very sure that I would never go to church again. But I am an open-minded person, so yeah, I have no problem with like changing things in my life drastically overnight, if that makes sense. So in this year 2024, I was in touch with Calvinism. I was reading about Calvinism, reading about John Calvin, all his influence and his history in Switzerland. And then I started watching one video after the other on YouTube. And, you know, I just got really interested in that. And that took me to knowing about the Presbyterian Church. And these guys, they take the Bible, they take the scriptures in a very serious way, and in a very historical and logical and rational way, which is what I do, exactly what I do with everything in my life, not only like religion, but also when it comes to liberty, when it comes to economics. I have always been this kind of person. When I saw the Presbyterians and the way they study the Bible, they are not religious people. I mean, they kind of are, but they are not. It's more like when you go to Presbyterian church, is more like a class. We are learning about God's scriptures, and it completely changed my life. And that's why I began to read the Bible again. Now I'm going every Sunday to a Presbyterian church where I live, and all these people, they are amazing. I can talk a lot about history with them, and I've had these long conversations with them uh, after the sermon is over. Like I just stay there at church talking to some people. These are still my first weeks, going there, so I'm still getting to know everybody. But I just had great conversations with them, and I felt like, this is the right place. This is the right place for me, because these people, they really are concerned about learning about what God told us, what Jesus taught us. And uh, a lot of those things, it was there in the Bible, but attending the church that I did, I just couldn't understand it. So the churches that I went with my family, it's like an iceberg. They're just like here at the tip of the iceberg. But what the Presbyterians do, they go like deeper, like it's much deeper. Like God's knowledge and wisdom is like way more profound. And that's what I'm discovering. And it's exhilarating, it's really exciting. Oh my gosh. And that's why I had to share this experience. So you should read the Bible. You should definitely read the Bible. The Bible is an extraordinary book, and it is the way, the path to understanding a lot of things that happens in our lives. So if you have been attending this kind of church where they are like way too emotional, like going, yelling, doing like crazy stuff, you know, so yeah, try attending a Presbyterian church, and I'm pretty sure that's gonna really change the way you look at the scriptures and at Christianity.